Welcome to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast, where we talk about homesteading stuff and life stuff and everything in between. Join me, Amy Dingman, as we explore big questions on a little farm. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast. This is episode 281. It is June 4th, 2024. I'm so glad that you are here today. I am Amy Dingman. I live on a 5-acre central Minnesota farm where I have chickens and ducks and rabbits and usually pigs. And we have big vegetable gardens. We got lots of fruit growing. I've got lots of herbs growing. And some people call that homesteading. I just like to call myself a feral housewife who babysits a lot of animals and plants that we eventually process and eat. So there you go. Here at the Farmish Kind of Life podcast, we talk about homesteading stuff and we talk about life stuff and everything in between. But mostly we talk about how to take the life that you have been given and live it in the best way possible. How to push yourself to be the best that you can be without making it a competition between yourself and who you think other people are. What are we talking about today on the podcast? Today's episode is going to be about my quick and easy method for, we'll say, being as productive as I can possibly be, getting stuff done. I call it the 220 method. It's something that works for me. It might work for you, so I thought I would share it here today. But before we get to that, what has been happening on the lifestead? Well, for the foreseeable future, I think I'm going to put my episodes out on Tuesday. The summer is here and weekends are just really busy with running and doing stuff. And so I think I'm just going to tell you that the episodes are going to be Tuesday now instead of Monday, and we'll see how that goes. That's just going to work out better with my schedule. So I hope it works out well for you all. What else? We have had so much rain here, y'all. We had the last 2 years, we were in a really severe drought, and it's almost like Mother Nature's trying to make up for it now. So we've had a lot of rain. I had planted my garden, put all the seedlings that I had started, I put them out there. Half of those seedlings are done for. They are no longer. The rain just really got to them. They got too much rain and they just died, y'all. My oldest son brought me home some new seedlings, some squash and some banana peppers and some things I think that he wanted in the garden. And so I did plant those. I went out and bought some cucumber seedlings and some different stuff. And I planted all that stuff in pots. We're doing a little bit of container gardening with some of our stuff this year. So theoretically, I can get those things out of the rain when I know we're in for tons of rain, because apparently this year we're going to get all the rain. And I can't even tell you how much rain we've got because I don't have a rain gauge. The weather reports for where we live, the amounts of rain never line up with what the report says, because we're in a little bubble here, a little microclimate. I don't know what you want to call it. But that's what's going on. What else happened? We got a single row corn planter at an auction a few months ago. Really old. Weren't quite sure exactly what it was. I know there are single row corn planters, so this is something you'd hook onto the tractor and pull it. It almost looks like something that somebody modified from a bigger one. I don't know. There's just some things on there where, like, I think this is slightly modified. So we bought it and we're like, we're going to make this work. And so we did that this past weekend. We planted corn. Now, the funny thing is we planted sweet corn. And we're surrounded by field corn. So we're doing sweet corn. We've done this a couple times before. The first time we did it, it was amazing. It was the first year we lived here. We had so much corn, we didn't know what to do with it. Every year after that we've attempted it, weeds have taken it over. I don't know what happened the first year. I don't know if there was stuff still in the soil from the previous farmer. I don't know what happened, but we were like, we are awesome farmers. We can grow all this corn, right? And every year we've attempted it after that. It has not worked. So this year we're like, we're going to try it again, and we'll just plant a little bit because, we need to try out the single row corn planter and it's going to be awesome. And we were super excited because it was working. We're like, this is so cool. You guys, we were just going to plant a little bit, and what we ended up planting was 19 rows of corn that are approximately 80 feet long. That is a lot of corn, y'all. So we'll see what happens, because I'm not exactly sure how we're going to keep the weeds out of this. I've had a few things suggested to me. My wonderful grandma just told me, you know what? When I was little, we just got out our hose and we hoed between the rows of corn, and that's just what you did. So I think this is going to be a very physical year on the homestead. It's always physical on the homestead, but I really want this corn to take off and grow. So, in a few months, I'm like, oh my God, we have so much corn, you guys. I don't know what to do. I want to have that problem. So we'll see what happens. The last thing I will tell you before we get started here is that I did start a new Facebook group. I've mentioned a few different places over the last few months that I wanted to start a group called the Get By Guys and Gals. It was something that came out of a TikTok that I had made, kind of figuring out how to get through tough times. And tough times aren't always the big, exciting tough times that people want to talk about on the news or, whatever. I just wanted to start a group of people who were really proactive and very, just had a lot of ideas and a really nice group of folks to kind of figure things out, no matter what's going on in your life and what you need to figure out, how to get through whatever that thing is. So I started that group. It's a great group of people. There's about 180 members right now as I'm recording this. This group is only in the first phase. I actually want to take the Get By Guys and Gals group to I want to turn it into a few different things. So the Facebook group is just phase one. But if you would like to check that out, I will put the link in the show notes so you can do that. Really great place to discuss stuff. Not just intended to be a homesteading group. There are a lot of homesteaders in there right now, but it's not just a homesteading group. We're going to talk about other stuff too, because life happens, right? Life happens, and we need to figure out how to get through health scares and financial issues. And it's not just about how to figure out how to grow your tomato better when the rain comes and takes it, right? All right. With that, let's head over to the main topic, and I'm going to share with you the way that I have figured out how to be as productive as I possibly can be, and I call it the 220 method, so let's get to it. So we're all busy, right? We all want to get a lot of stuff done. We all have a lot of stuff to do. And every time I've tried to figure out the best way to be productive in my own life, I get distracted. There's a lot of stuff that happens. So my immediate issue, I would say, as I get older, is that I have a lot of stuff to do and I forget to do half of it, or I know everything I need to do, but I'm not very, very good at organizing it very well. So that's kind of the issue I was trying to work around. And this is a method that I came up with and I started messing around with a few months ago as I started to cut my hours at work before I knew I was going to make my exit. And I knew this was going to be really important to get a hold on because being home full time again, I wanted to make sure that there were productive boundaries on my time, we'll say, because it's really easy when you're home, when you work from home or your life is full-time at home, it's really easy for a job that could take 10 minutes to end up taking an hour because your day kind of has the ability to be wide open and things get done as they get done. It's not this, oh my word, I have to leave for work in 20 minutes, so I have to quick get this done, which is really nice that you don't have to do that. But if you're not careful, it can kind of backfire and jobs take way longer than they need to and you get distracted and you don't get as much done as you actually could. So this method that I started using, I like to call it the 220 method, okay? And so what I do, it's very simple. This is not earth-shattering. What I do is I make two lists. One is computer stuff and one is away from computer stuff. Now note that this is not work stuff and home stuff, because I obviously run this business called A Farmish Kind of Life. I have all the stuff that I do for that. So I technically work from home on that, okay? And then I have like the homesteading stuff, right? So this list is not Farmish Kind of Life stuff and not Farmish Kind of Life stuff. This is actually computer stuff and away from computer stuff, because I do Farmish Kind of Life stuff that's not in front of the computer. And I do home stuff that is in front of the computer. So these two lists are actually based on where my body needs to be to get the work done. So I make those two lists, okay? And we'll talk more about those lists in a little bit. But I make those two lists, and then I set a timer on my phone for 20 minutes. And every time the timer goes off, I switch between the two lists. It's that simple, okay? If the item doesn't get done in the 20 minutes, I just highlight it yellow on my list and I go back to it after I switch again. Because I keep this list on my computer, and so I like to use color. And so when I get something done, I highlight it green. So if I didn't quite get it done, I highlight it yellow so I know to go back to it. I really try to resist just continuing to work 5 more minutes on that job to get it done, because if you're anything like me, that 5 minutes is going to lead into something else, and then the whole thing gets out of whack. Okay? So that's my method in a nutshell. okay? I make 2 lists. I set my timer for 20 minutes and I switch between the 2 lists. And you're thinking, okay, Amy, big deal, so what? You make some lists, you set a timer. Wow, Amy, that's really revolutionary. But sometimes the thing that works doesn't need to be fancy. It just needs to work. And sometimes the thing that works is something you just need to do. You need to get past the idea or the intention. You actually have to do it. Some of you might think you do this, or at least maybe you have lists that you work off of. You've got your to-do list, you've got your honey-do list, whatever. But most of us just keep those lists in our head, and half the stuff doesn't get done. And we get distracted and we get busy with other things. And then we get into bed at the end of the day and we think, oh yeah, that's right. I should really do that tomorrow. And we don't write it down. And it's 3 more nights of getting into bed going, oh yeah, that's right. I was going to call so-and-so. I was going to fix whatever. I was going to do that thing, right? Okay, so examples of the list. So I have my office list or my computer list, which is, maybe I need to record a podcast episode. I need to write an article for the Farmish papers. I need to edit a section of a video that I made. I need to load pictures of something that I took and I need to edit those. I need to make sure all the bills got paid online. I need to write my email newsletter. I need to make a list of what I still need for a certain article that I'm writing or a certain video I'm making or a certain podcast episode that I am researching for or whatever. Okay, so it's all stuff that's at my computer. It's sending an email to that one person. It's checking that website to see what it says about whatever. It's all stuff that's at my computer. Okay? My away from the computer is get the frozen tomatoes out of the freezer and get them ready to can. It is dry the strawberry mint leaves. It's shred the potatoes. It's water the seedlings. It's put fences around the fruit tree. It's pick dandelions for wine. It's measure what we need for landscape timbers for that one box that we want to build. It's put plastic down in front of the house for the new mulch boxes. It's all the things that aren't common things I would do, like do chores, do morning chores. Like I don't put that on my list because that's something I do every day. I'm not going to forget to do that. It's all that other stuff. Maybe hang the clothes out on the line, clean up the pile of bricks, weed around the rhubarb, dig up and split 5 hostas, okay? So that's an example of the things that would be on my list. And obviously that changes seasonally from day to day, from week to week, whatever. But that's an example kind of what would be on my list right now, or what has been on my list lately. So why does this method work for me? How does it help me? Number 1, it keeps me focused. Switching back and forth between 2 different lists for a certain portion of my day keeps me focused. And even if I'm not using this method, because I don't use this method all day long, I will still sometimes set a timer for 20 minutes because for some reason, it just keeps me tuned into the day. And that timer goes off and I think, oh, it's time to do something else. Or I think, what have I even been doing for the last 20 minutes? Setting a timer and hearing that timer go off makes you very conscious of your time. Because let's be real, sometimes we say all that time that we spent researching whatever and it was really productive. It really wasn't, because half the time you were just scrolling. Because we do that. That's what social media and the internet, it's there for us to scroll. Like that's what it wants us to do. And we end up scrolling, right? This happened a lot when I was writing books and novels more often than I currently am. I would go in to write something and an hour later it'd be like, well, what did I get written? Well, nothing, because I had 6 other tabs open on my computer, 3 of which weren't even anything I needed to be looking at that time. This doesn't just happen online. Sometimes the time that we spend planning stuff out in our garden, right? So we're in the garden and we're planning stuff out. It's really time we just spent staring off into space, or we were distracted by toads or cats or identifying some weed that popped up. It wasn't time that was really spent on the task we were supposed to be doing, right? And do we have to be productive all the time? No. But it's also really good to know what you're being productive at and not like say you're being productive when really you're just relaxing, you're just chilling out, you're just doing whatever. And we need those times too, but we need to be real about which thing we're doing at which time. Another reason that I think this really helps me specifically is that I don't get bored. And what I mean by that is not, I'm 8 years old again and it's a 3rd day of summer vacation and I'm like, oh my God, it's so boring. There's nothing to do. That's not what I mean. What I mean is for me specifically, and maybe some of you are like this, if I do something for a long time, my brain shuts down, right? It's like what I'm doing right now is boring because I've been doing it for 45 minutes and now I'm going to be distracted by the 13 other things I need to do or could be doing. Okay? When something is new, at least for my brain, when you reset your brain is like, oh, hey, cool. So every 20 minutes when I'm switching between the two lists, my brain is like, hey, cool. We're doing a new thing. Maybe my brain is easy to trick. I don't know. Another reason that I really like this method and why it works for me is that it's the only way that I've found to have a sort of self-imposed deadline that actually works for me, okay? If I try to do something for an hour, it's too long. My brain shuts down. If I do something for 10 minutes, it's too short, okay? There's another method called the Pomodoro method, I think, where you do something for 25 minutes and then you take a 5-minute break and then you go back to the thing and do it for 25 minutes and then you take a 5-minute break. For me, there was something about that method where I just felt like I couldn't catch up. And so that method never really stuck for me. So this 220 method is what I've taken to using, and it's been really, really helpful for me for the last few months I've been using it. Now, here's a caveat. There are some jobs that do not make sense to break up into 20-minute chunks. There are some jobs that you just need to do until they get done, like planting the cornfield or fixing something that broke. There are some jobs that you can split up into 20-minute sections or whatever and then take a break, but there are things you can't. Like you just need to get the job done, and it's going to take as long as it takes. Also, this is not a method you have to use all day, every day. I don't use this all day. I don't use this every day. This is not like I'm waking up at 4:30 in the morning and until 8 o'clock at night, I'm switching between two lists every 20 minutes. That's not what I'm doing, okay? But there is a chunk of my day where like, okay, I'm going to do the 220 thing. I got my 2 lists. All right, let's buzz through this. Now, I will be honest. There are a few other lists that I keep. They're not necessarily part of the 220 list, but they're kind of in addition to the 220 list, okay? So I do have another list that I keep that is called Away from Home, but it's not part of the 20-minute plan because it can take me from 10 to 20 minutes to get to town, depending on which town I'm going to do my errands in. But I do write the stuff down that I need to run to town for so I can make my trip the most productive, and I don't forget anything. Because now that I'm not leaving home every day to go to work, I don't really have the option to say, oh, I'll just pick that up on the way to work tomorrow, right? I want my trips to town to be the most productive they can be because I don't necessarily want to be doing it every day, okay? I have another list that is bigger projects that need to be done. And any parts of those that I can break up into smaller things will get put on the 220 list. And dividing things up is really good for my brain because I'm one of those people who really likes to see things crossed off on the list. And so I feel very productive if I look and say, oh, 5 things off that project got crossed off today. It's better for my brain to see that instead of seeing this like huge project that isn't done until it's completely done and it's taking you all week to cross that one line off. And if you're anything like me, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I like to cross things off my to-do list. So yes, bigger projects do get their own list. I try to transfer them to the 220 list if I can, but that's how I deal with the bigger projects. I also have a rain day list, okay? The rain day list is stuff that's to be done in the house that would be a really good use of time on a rain day and shouldn't really be messed with when the weather's nice and sunny and beautiful and I can be out on the homestead getting a ton of work done. But I make that list because when I wake up and the weather's bad, when it's pouring outside, right, and I can't do the thing I wanted to do outside, I'll sometimes just be mad that I can't be outside and I spend all this time thinking about all the things I could be doing if it wasn't pouring outside instead of realizing, hey, you know what, this would be the perfect day to go through the chest freezer and take stock of what's in there, or break down that pile of cardboard boxes in the basement so it can be hauled out to the woodshed. So I really like the rain day list, and I'm using it a lot now because we're getting so much rain, but it's good to have that list where you're like, oh man, I can't do the thing I wanted to do outside in the garden or whatever, but I do have a lot of stuff I could do in the house. It makes sense to do that today. So that's my method. I hope I explained it well. It's not really earth-shattering, but it is something that works for me, having those two different lists to work off of. So I hope you find it helpful. Or maybe this will spark something in you where you think, hey, that would work, but I would need to modify it to be this different thing. And that's great. And I'd love to hear about it, how it worked for you, or what method you have found that really helps you to stay organized and not get distracted and get all the stuff done that you need to get done. So that is what I have for you today. Also, don't forget to join the Get By Guys and Gals group on Facebook. The link will be in the show notes, or I think if you go to Facebook and you search for the group, the Get By Guys and Gals group, there should be enough people in it now that it will show up in a search. It is a private group, so you can't see what's in it unless you're a member, but it should show up in a search now. So that's what I have for you this week. I hope you find it helpful. I hope you have an amazing week, and I will talk to you again soon. Hope you enjoyed the show today. To continue the conversation, visit our website at afarmishkindoflife.com, find A Farmish Kind of Life on social media, or drop me an email at amy@afarmishkindoflife.com. Peace, love, and bacon, y'all. Stay farmish.